A teenage delivery boy fixes a CEO's laptop and accidentally unlocks a $7 billion tech secret. The words would echo through Silicon Valley boardrooms for years to come, but on this rain-soaked Tuesday evening, 17-year-old Eli Martinez was just trying to make his last delivery before his shift ended. The fluorescent lights of Chen's Chinese kitchen buzzed overhead as Eli grabbed the final order of the night. His worn sneakers squeaked against the linoleum floor, still damp from the storm outside. The address on the receipt made him pause. Pinnacle Tower, the glass monument that pierced San Francisco's skyline like a digital sword. Another rich guy who can't be bothered to come down and get his own food, Eli muttered, stuffing the steaming containers into his insulated bag. His phone buzzed with a text from his mother. Doctor says we need to discuss payment options. Call me when you get home. Eli's stomach twisted. Mom's chemotherapy treatments were draining their savings faster than water through a broken dam. 20 minutes later, Eli stood in the marble lobby of Pinnacle Tower, water dripping from his rain jacket onto the pristine floor. The security guard looked him up and down with barely concealed disdain before directing him to the private elevator that would take him to the 50th floor. The elevator doors opened to reveal a world Eli had only seen in movies. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of the city below, while minimalist furniture and cutting-edge technology created an atmosphere of cold perfection. This was the domain of Damian Cross, CEO of Nexus Dynamics, one of the most secretive AI companies in the world. "You're late," came a voice from across the room. Damian Cross emerged from behind a massive desk, his designer suit impeccable despite the late hour. At 42, he had the sharp features and calculating eyes of a man who had built an empire from code and ambition. "Sorry, sir, the storm made traffic," Eli began, but Damian waved him off. "Just put it on the counter and go." Damian returned to his desk, where 3 laptops displayed streams of complex code. His fingers flew across the keyboards with practiced precision until suddenly, one of the screens went black. "Damn it!" Damian slammed his fist on the desk. "Not tonight. Not when we're this close." Eli hesitated at the door, watching as the most powerful man in tech stared helplessly at his dead laptop. "Excuse me, sir? I might be able to help with that." Damian looked up, his expression a mixture of surprise and irritation. "I have a team of MIT graduates who can't fix this." "What makes you think a delivery boy can?" "Because sometimes the solution isn't about the degree on your wall," Eli said quietly. "It's about understanding how things actually work." Something in Eli's tone made Damian pause. "You have 5 minutes." Eli approached the desk cautiously, his eyes immediately scanning the setup. 3 laptops, all running different operating systems, connected through a complex network of cables and wireless adapters. The dead laptop still had power. He could see the charging light, but the screen remained black. "It's not the hardware," Eli said, his fingers hovering over the keyboard. "You've got a kernel panic triggered by a memory conflict. The other systems are trying to access the same protected memory space." Damian's eyebrows rose slightly. "How could you possibly know that?" "Because I've seen this before. Different setup, same principle." Eli's fingers moved across the keyboard with surprising confidence. "I'm going to isolate the conflicted process and restart the memory allocation sequence." As Eli worked, lines of code flashed across the screen faster than most people could read. But Eli wasn't most people. He had been teaching himself programming since he was 12, turning their apartment's ancient computer into a learning laboratory while his mother worked double shifts at the hospital. "There," Eli said, stepping back as the laptop's screen flickered to life. "Should be good to." The words died in his throat as he saw what appeared on the screen. Financial projections, technical specifications, and a single phrase that made his blood run cold. "Project Genesis, Autonomous Decision Protocol." Damian moved with lightning speed, slamming the laptop shut. But it was too late. Eli had seen enough. You didn't see anything, Damien said, his voice low and dangerous. An AI that can make decisions without human oversight, Eli whispered. Financial decisions. Military decisions. Life and death decisions. You have no idea what you're talking about. I know enough, Eli said, backing toward the door. I know that's worth $7 billion to the wrong people. And I know that's why you're working alone at midnight instead of in your labs. Damien studied Eli's face for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, not threatening, but calculating. What's your name? Eli Martinez. And what do you want, Eli Martinez? Money? A job? I could have you arrested for corporate espionage. I want to go home to my sick mother and pretend this never happened. But you can't, can you? Damien moved closer, his eyes never leaving Eli's face. Because now you know. And men like me don't stay powerful by letting secrets walk out the door. Eli's hand found the door handle behind him. What are you saying? I'm saying you have two choices. Work for me or what? Damien's smile was cold as winter steel. There is no or what. You work for me now. The next morning, Eli found himself in a world he never could have imagined. Damien had arranged for a car to pick him up, not a delivery bicycle, but a black sedan with tinted windows. The driver said nothing during the 20-minute ride to a nondescript building in an industrial part of the city. Welcome to the Real Nexus Dynamics, Damien said as they entered through a reinforced steel door. The interior was a stark contrast to the corporate offices downtown. Here, banks of servers hummed with computational power, while dozens of monitors displayed streams of data that seemed to pulse with artificial life. This is where we're building the future, Damien continued, leading Eli through corridors lined with equipment worth more than most small countries' GDP. Project Genesis isn't just an AI system. It's evolution itself, compressed into code. They stopped at a workstation where a single monitor displayed a complex three-dimensional model rotating slowly in digital space. It looked almost organic, like a brain made of light and mathematics. What does it do? Eli asked, though part of him already knew he didn't want the answer. It thinks. Not in the way current AI systems process information, but the way humans think. With intuition. With creativity. With the ability to make leaps of logic that seem impossible but turn out to be brilliant. And the $7 billion? Damien's expression darkened. That's what the Department of Defense is willing to pay for an AI that can analyze global threats and take preemptive action without waiting for human authorization. Imagine a system that could prevent the next 9/11 by eliminating threats before they fully form. Or start World War III by misinterpreting a diplomatic cable, Eli said quietly. You're smarter than I gave you credit for. Damien turned to face him fully. Yes, there are risks. But there are also opportunities. This technology could solve climate change, cure diseases, eliminate poverty. The question isn't whether we should build it, someone will, whether it's us or the Chinese or the Russians. The question is who controls it when it's built. Over the following weeks, Eli found himself drawn deeper into Damien's world. The work was intoxicating, problems that challenged every fiber of his being, surrounded by technology that made science fiction seem quaint. His mother's medical bills were quietly taken care of, though Damien never mentioned it directly. But late at night, when Eli returned to their small apartment, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was helping to build something that should never exist. The breakthrough came on a Thursday evening in October. Eli had been working on the decision-making protocols, trying to create safeguards that would prevent the AI from taking actions that could harm innocent people. The code was elegant, beautiful even, a digital conscience written in mathematics and logic. It's ready, Damien announced, appearing behind Eli's workstation like a ghost. The Pentagon wants a demonstration tomorrow. Tomorrow? Eli's fingers froze over the keyboard. But the safeguards aren't complete. The ethical constraints need more testing. The ethical constraints are optional parameters, Damien said coldly. Our clients want an AI that can make hard decisions. Sometimes that means accepting casualties for the greater good. You're talking about murder. I'm talking about survival. Do you think our enemies are worried about ethical constraints? That night, Eli lay awake staring at the ceiling of his childhood bedroom. On his desk sat a laptop containing access codes to the most dangerous technology ever created. In the next room, his mother slept peacefully for the first time in months, her medical treatment secured by money from a man who might destroy the world. The next morning, Eli made his choice. He arrived at the facility early, before even Damien got there. His fingers moved across the keyboard with the same confidence he had shown that first night in Pinnacle Tower, but now he was undoing rather than creating. The virus he planted was elegant in its simplicity. It wouldn't destroy the research, that would be too obvious, too traceable. Instead, it would introduce subtle errors into the core decision-making algorithms. The AI would still function, still pass basic tests, but when faced with critical decisions, it would hesitate. It would question. It would act more like a human and less like a weapon. "What are you doing?" Damien's voice cut through the morning silence like a blade. Eli turned slowly, his finger hovering over the enter key that would execute the virus. "Making sure your creation has a conscience. You have no idea what you're destroying." "I know exactly what I'm destroying. The ability for this thing to kill without remorse." Damien moved closer, his hand reaching toward a red emergency button on the wall. "Step away from the computer, Eli." "You know what's funny?" Eli said, not moving. "I used to think the difference between us was money. But it's not. It's that you forgot what it feels like to be human. Humanity is a luxury we can't afford anymore. Humanity is the only thing worth preserving." Eli pressed enter. Alarms screamed through the facility as the virus spread through the system like digital wildfire. Security guards rushed in, but Damien waved them back. "It's too late," he said, watching as years of work transformed before his eyes. "You've changed everything. I've made it better. The Pentagon will never accept an AI with artificial morality constraints. Then maybe they shouldn't have it." 6 months later, Eli stood on the stage of the San Francisco Convention Center, addressing a crowd of tech leaders, ethicists, and journalists. The 17-year-old who had delivered Chinese food to a billionaire's office was gone, replaced by someone who had looked into the future and chosen to change it. "True artificial intelligence isn't about creating machines that think like us," he said, his voice carrying clearly through the packed auditorium. "It's about creating machines that think better than us. With more compassion. With more wisdom. With more respect for the value of human life." In the audience, Damien Cross sat alone in the back row. His empire had crumbled when the Pentagon deal fell through, but he had found something more valuable in its ruins, a reminder of what he had almost lost in his pursuit of power. After the presentation, Eli found Damien waiting by the exit. "I could have had you arrested," Damien said quietly. "But you didn't." "No. I didn't." Damien paused, looking older than his years. "I've been thinking about what you said that night. About forgetting what it feels like to be human. And I think you were right." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the crowd file out of the auditorium. "What happens now?" Damien asked. "Now we build something better. Together, if you want. An AI with a conscience? An AI with a soul." As they walked out into the San Francisco evening, Eli reflected on the journey that had brought him here. A year ago, he had been a delivery boy trying to support his sick mother. Tonight, he was a young man who had helped reshape the future of human civilization. But the most important lesson hadn't come from lines of code or billion-dollar algorithms. It had come from understanding that true power isn't about what you can build, it's about having the wisdom to know what you should build. And sometimes, the greatest act of creation is knowing when to destroy what you've made and start over. The teenager who fixed the CEO's laptop and unlocked a $7 billion secret had done something far more valuable. He had reminded the world that in an age of artificial intelligence, the most important thing we can preserve is our humanity.